Welcome, one and all, to another edition of Run the Block, brought to you by the Live Rich Project. Today we have a ton of good topics to cover. We're talking about people are now spending more time than ever in meetings. Possibly North Koreans have stolen American identities, but not why you think. Also, Conor McGregor was spotted 6 weeks out before his big fight, partying it up. And I know you've got lots of thoughts about that, Michael. And another actually, we have a few other interesting topics, one of which maybe some people out there considering businesses, buying businesses or starting up a business, even if it's a local pop-up shop in their area to kind of establish themselves as a business owner. What that means ultimately, is now a good time or should you wait? Is the economy going to collapse? And is there an actual silver wave? We'll explain all that and much, much more. First, though, what's going on, man? How you doing today?
Overall I'm doing really well. It was a rough night of sleep, so that's whatever. It's just par for the course. But yeah, man, overall, it was a great weekend, great Memorial Day. We've got our little nephew up here, so we're running what we call Camp Cliffski. We just combine the last names of all the participants, and so we take our teenage son and then our teenage nephew, and we go through different topics and books that would be important for young men to understand. We go through multiple training sessions every single day. We educate them on training. We educate them on nutrition. We cover spirituality. And so it's just a fun thing that we do for the kids at the beginning of the summer. And man, it's just so fulfilling, but also annoying to have multiple teenage boys under the same roof. Also, they eat a ton and they smell terrible.
Fun facts.
Of course, the teenage boys. Yeah.
Yeah, fun facts. And we can say that because we were once teenage boys. So, is what it is.
Yeah.
Where do you want to start today, man?
Well, I was going to ask you how you're doing, but if we don't care about you, I mean, that's fine.
I'm good. Nothing too crazy. Quiet, relaxing weekend. Was supposed to go camping, decided not to, and just instead spent some time with the fam. Hung out here. My dad got baptized. That was different, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, just a wholesome family weekend, my man. So I'm doing good, refreshed, ready to go. We've got a lot of stuff going on with MMU right now, a lot of promotion campaigns. So this morning was just knocking out a bunch of automations and making sure all of our sequences and stuff are set up and good to go. So if you're listening to this and you're a coach, we have several trainings. Head to the Metabolic Mentor University Instagram and you can register for any of the upcoming trainings. You and I have a Q&A on Thursday in the 1-100 project going on, as well as next Thursday there's a training on client transformations. And then in June, we have a couple big trainings, which I can't talk about yet because we haven't even announced them on MMU. But stay tuned if you guys want to hang out with Michael and myself more outside of this podcast and or our DMs. We have a bunch of fun stuff planned, so stay tuned for that. Let's jump into this topic about meetings and Zoom fatigue. Now, if you're a solopreneur, maybe you don't have a team that you sit in meetings with all day. But I think there's also a point where you want to be around other people. So you may sign up for classes or mentorships or communities and then want to jump in on a bunch of Zooms because you don't have anyone to hang out with and chat with. And you and I have experienced this with coaches in the past, right? That just like want to show up to things, even though they could be doing other things because they just want to feel a part of something. But I thought this was super interesting. Let me get into the screen share here. This was posted from Microsoft. Let's jump into it. Getting so much better at tech, man. So consider these phenomena of modern work. More than 40% of fully remote workers polled in a 2023 survey of working parents by Bright Horizons said they go days without leaving the house, which is just insane, but I can also attest to that. I'm sure you're the same way. And it's not that you probably don't even get out and go for a walk, but you're just at the house. You don't do other things, which, spoiler alert, is actually terrible for you. Those who work in office spend nearly a quarter of their time in virtual meetings. A quarter of their time in virtual meetings, while face-to-face meetings count for only 8% of their time, according to data from real estate company Cushman and Wakefield. Americans have tripled the time spent in meetings since 2020. Data from Microsoft's suite of business software show, leaving less time for casual interactions that social scientists say foster happiness at work. And if you recall, I don't know, what was this, maybe 2 or 3 episodes you and I covered, was friends at work was the number one determiner if somebody was happy and or stayed. And it wasn't salary or anything else. It was literally how many friends do they have at work and do they enjoy that? Finally, among 101,000 people using the professional coaching platform BetterUp since 2018, 68% said they knew their coworkers on a personal level, down from 79% 5 years ago. Dude, what is going on here? Are we just in a we must meet to make us feel productive / we have no friends? Like, these numbers are insane.
Yeah, well, there was this weird thing that happened around, I don't know, call it the third or fourth week of February, in 2020. And the world hasn't been the same since. So if we look at that data, it's referring to since 2020 or since 2019 in the statistics and the references. So contextually, a couple of those stats just make direct sense, right? Down to 68 or 69% from 79% 5 years before. What happened? That thing happened. What's the other one? We've spent, what was it, 20 or 30% more time in meetings since 2020 when that thing happened. And so that thing pushed us in a very rapid pace into a virtual world. And so with the workplace stuff, it makes a ton of sense because with more people than ever working from home, whether that's a net positive or not, dependent on your situation, but virtual meetings started going through the roof. So there's that. But then when we keep in context the fact that we only have a finite amount of time that we're willing to spend on a thing, call it work. If you have, say, 8 hours in a day that is your work day, and you are on more meetings, you have less time left over to make personal connections. On top of that, if we're working remotely at an exasperated rate, it's also easy to see how you're only going to see certain people on meetings, and then you're probably not ever going to talk to them. So you're not going to foster any sense of personal connection with them unless you get to some sort of in-person meetup. Because the only way to do that would be to take the time that's reserved in your personal time and spend that on work relationships or work projects. Most people aren't willing to do that. And so all of this data makes a ton of sense, and it feels like the exact truth. I feel like in the last 4 years, the amount of meetings that I've been on has gone up drastically, whether we're talking about one-on-one coaching calls, because a lot of those used to be over the phone, and now just about every one of them is done on Zoom. If we're doing a one-to-many, a group coaching call, or we're leading a cohort where we're educating in a classroom setting, or just team meetings, right? We have multiple team meetings throughout the week, departmental meetings. And so, yeah, I feel these stats to the point where sometimes I feel like I'm also bleeding out of my eyes and my ears. It's great because we are connected. We do have access to more people in the virtual world. It has led to the inception and creation of so many more jobs that never existed. Hello, podcaster. Right? That wasn't a thing until we got into this world. And so as we're pushing to this virtual world, and then, the next thing is going into whatever the perceived metaverse will be, or the VR world, we're going to add another layer to it where we're going to be a little bit further removed from reality, and we'll be in another virtual setting, making in-person connections more precious, and making that feeling of connectedness and community something that even more people are going to they're going to try to find, because the more connected we are virtually, the more you miss the in-person thing. And so I think that we're not going to know the net positive or negative on this for a little bit. Certainly there's a lot of data around um, substance abuse, and we've covered that stuff before in relation to isolation. And that's what this is. You may see people's faces on screens, but you can't, touch, interact, smell. It's still not a real interaction, and there's still some isolation. And for those people who work at home and you don't leave your home for days on end, I do that on occasion. I'll tell you right now, it affects my mental health when I do that. You're in the same environment all the time, you're isolated. And so that's the importance of having that community. And you spoke about it, and when you brought it up, you told the truth. A lot of coaches spend time on those group coaching calls just because they want to feel like they're a part of something. It may not even be the best use of their time. It may not be covering a subject that is even relevant to them with wherever they're at in their business or with the clients that they're dealing with, but they want to be on there because they're connected to other coaches in the space, other people who look, think, feel exactly how you do. And so it's something that you got to find your tribe. And if you can't find one, we need to start building them.
It's so true. And there is a difference, man. I know probably some of my most productive days were some of my unhappiest days because I was super on point with my schedule, meaning every hour of my day was just how do I maximize productivity, right? And it was just like a big circle in the house, right? Between waking up and even meditating to working and then going to the garage to lift, like, hey, I can't go to the gym because that's 15 minutes each way I could save. That's 30 minutes. And then blah, 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 blah. And you just realize, like, by the end of the day, you just feel just so out of it because you've not actually like changed your state, maybe a little bit. Yes, through meditation. Yes, through exercising. Of course, you get some endorphins and things like that. But as soon as I started driving to the gym again, it's just a different place. It's a different environment. And then you're around other people and then you see people, or, you even give a little head nod or somebody asks you a question and you just are interacting and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. Like, this is what the world's supposed to be about. Not how much work did I get done, but like, did I experience anything today? Right. Was I a good person? And while, we can make excuses for productivity, I found actually when I do those things, I'm more excited than to come back home and then to jump back on the computer to have Zooms or actually do work and all those things because I've just not literally walked 20 feet to go to the garage to then walk 20 feet to go shower to then come back 10 feet to my computer and been like, oh, this is so much fun. I live in a giant square. Can't wait to do it again tomorrow. So if that's you, if you're that coach, entrepreneur, solopreneur, or even you work for somebody, you're a 1099er or W-2 that's remote, highly suggest joining a gym, getting out of the house, paying the $30 a month just to get out of the house, to make yourself go. I saw a recent clip from a therapist that was talking actually about this. And she was like, just running errands has been shown to like help increase your happiness because you're changing your state. You're getting to a different environment. And so making yourself run those errands, do it. Go to the grocery store, right? Go meal prep, do something, get out of the house several times a week. I used to be under the impression like I'm going to outsource everything. I'm going to have my groceries dropped off. I'm going to hire somebody to cook all my stuff. And I was just like, you know what? That's actually dumb. Maybe if you've got throwaway money, sure. But like, I do those things now to get out of the work mindset and to go do other things and make my brain be in different states to, harness creativity, to get into a state where I'm enjoying meal prepping, right? I'm enjoying chopping up vegetables. I'm enjoying gardening, whatever the thing is, because it's just not the same thing over and over and over again. So whereas, you and I think used to be like, maybe you don't need to be on XYZ call. If it's your only call of the week and you could, spend that time going engaging with clients, Okay, do that before or after and go jump on that call and go hang out with people for an hour. But like don't just sit there in the background like a creeper. Like engage, ask questions, try and connect with people. Because the one takeaway I wish anyone that's has a service-based business is either a for your own community, like you said, go create your own. Absolutely, go do that, and try to do local meetups if you can. Like find people in your regional area or tri-state area, or try and find a place that you all would go, like a big entrepreneur event, whether it's like Vegas or Florida, right? Like try to find an area where you all would go, and then maybe meet up in person. Like yeah, that's scary. Yeah, people could be weirdos on the internet. We know you and I are weirdos. But like even that, like if you are like, man, I can't put on my own event, great, just pick a central event that everyone would already maybe want to go to and then go do that, right? And then have like a lunch or a dinner where you're all together, because that's what's most important is the actual connection that you can harness, and the power of just being around other individuals. I promise your creativity sparks way more in person for an hour than it would probably double or triple that on a Zoom where you're all just like chillaxing.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Couple things there. Your inputs equal your outputs, right? And so the more that we read books, the more that we have conversations with people, those are the inputs. These are the things that are coming into you, and you're going to have reactive thoughts. Those are the things that you can turn into content, right? Like at the end of the day, we all take things from somewhere else, and it starts with a point of consumption. And sometimes that's just conversation with a good friend. I can't tell you how many posts I've ever seen that say like, was just talking to a friend the other day and this, right? So your inputs equal your outputs. So make sure that you are connecting with others, taking in points of view and information from other people. And the other thing that you spoke about, we'll get into this in future episodes, but the last I knew, there were 21 documented flow triggers. We've all heard of flow, your flow state. For athletes, you might have heard this as like being in the zone where the net, the basketball court just seems so big and everything's going in, right? Anyone and everyone can dial into a flow state. And there are certain triggers that are just related to simple manual tasks where your body can take over and your mind can wander. This can be massage therapy. This can be simple yard work. This can be cooking. This can be cleaning the kitchen and things like that. And so that's something else that if you're working on a project and you have a stuck or you have something going on, take a step away, switch your brain into something else and watch your mind subconsciously problem solve and watch your stucks just melt away because you will go into a state where you are accessing deeper part of your brain because you're not focusing on that thing. So flow states can be triggered from small manual tasks. Leverage those whenever you can. Even something as simple as going for a walk and leaving your work will stimulate you in a different way than just sitting there beating your head against the wall from whatever project you're working on.
Yeah, and just make you happy, right? Like productivity purgatory is the worst thing. Like, I believe it was Chris Williamson who coined that term, but he was like, going off on a tangent one day, and then a lot of people took it, but it was like, going for a walk because Andrew Huberman told you that a 10-minute walk would then stimulate this part of your brain, which then will make creativity and this, and you come back to, and it's like, maybe you should just go for a walk because it's just great to be outside and you get
Yeah.
vitamin D and you hear birds chirping and you feel the sun, right? And you feel good about life versus like, I got to go get my RAS active, right? So that way I can go and just pump out more work. It's like maybe, or you could just go look at a tree. All right, man. Thousands of North Koreans stole Americans' identities and took remote work tech jobs. And not just anywhere, but at Fortune 500 companies. And this isn't from like someone random saying this. This is from the DOJ. What? Like, honestly, I thought this was a joke at first. And then I was like, oh no, this is real. Where are we going?
So many jokes to make. Pick your poison, right? what what complaint do we want to launch? hey, all of these people are coming to this country, which is what's happening at the border, or hey, all of these people aren't coming to this country, but they are taking our identities so they can take our jobs. That was the old, like,
Wild.
80s babies. We are old enough to remember people they come in here and they take our jobs. Like, everyone remembers that line from 30 years ago. Now they're not even coming here and they're taking your jobs.
Just easily
Right.
too, apparently.
I
I mean,
assume
it's not like a mom and pop shop. This is a Fortune 500 company that's supposed to like vet people, and they've gotten jobs there. So like, what? What?
I have to assume it's in hopes of taking intellectual property, of scraping data, of something like that. Or things are just really that bad in North Korea where they're going to steal identities so they can work, so they can maybe turn their lights on over there.
I mean, to be honest, that makes a lot of sense if you're in a country where the US dollar would be more and they don't technically know you're in another country. So you're making American currency as a quote unquote American, especially at like a tech job where, I mean, I know they just laid off 10 to 20% depending on the company, but like you're making at most likely over six figures for just basic jobs there. Like it's insane. It's most likely stupid as well, but it's, I mean, and so probably someone in North Korea like stole some American's identity and has a six-figure plus tech job. I mean, they're probably bankrolling in North Korea. I mean, why would you not? Like, what's going to happen there? Like, nothing. Probably North Korean government shakes your hand. I'm not sure. Like, are they proud?
If you're not familiar with the jokes that we're making or alluding to, Google North Korea versus South Korea at night. You will see South Korea where all of the lights are on in the country, as a country usually looks like, and then North Korea is basically black except for a couple of cities because that's how impoverished they are. So if you're not familiar, take a look at that photo. Just go Google it. You'll get a real eyeful of what we're talking about.
Yeah, because it makes you wonder, like, well, what are they doing, right? Is there a set number of people that are doing this, right? Versus, like, who knows? Is this just like literally they're almost extorting American tech companies? They're just, there's just 10 people that are stealing all these identities, getting all these jobs, and then like work is like mundane. There's not much output, but they're just taking a bunch of American cash to give to other. I don't know. I'm so baffled. There's so many questions I have here. I know none of them will ever be answered. I just want everyone to be aware because there have been some big data breaches recently. I was a part of one through AT&T, which I've never been an actual AT&T customer. I had made an account like years ago. I can't remember why. I think I was considering AT&T before I went to Verizon, and I can't remember why. I decided to go with Verizon, maybe the deal or something that was going on then. But like the quote unquote dark web security like alerted me, hey, by the way, your name's come up, and I was like, oh no, and I looked into it, and it was like everything's been sold, and it was like name, email, social security number, date of birth. I'm like, oh, fantastic. That's just what I wanted to hear today. And so I don't know, maybe I have a tech job at an American company that I'm not sure of. So maybe,
Congratulations.
yeah, maybe. But if you guys aren't running any of that, definitely check if you guys have credit cards, they usually do some of that monitoring, but I highly suggest understanding that because if you don't use password security, like a LastPass or something like that, you probably should. Because then you can I just went quickly in, looked at any passwords that I'd had associated with any of those accounts and just quickly changed all that stuff. Very easy to do. So just an FYI, I know you use a password security. I use password security. So I actually got my mom set up on one too. I'm like, Mom, you first of all, we gotta upgrade these passwords. Second of all, you got to get on some security software to make sure that you're all good to go. All right, man. Let's jump into Conor McGregor was spotted partying at his Dublin bar. And guys, I promise if you don't watch UFC, totally fine. There's a different angle we want to cover here. But so Conor McGregor is a UFC fighter. He's been retired for a while. He's now coming out of retirement. He has a fight in, I believe, 5 weeks now. He was at his bar in Dublin, though, the Black Forge Inn, Just a few weeks before his UFC 303 fight against Michael Chandler, uh, McGregor had previously hinted at an alcohol ban ahead, and he sent videos and pictures of him dancing, looked like a drink was in his hand, carrying on, having a good time, and the internet erupted and started bashing him like crazy. First of all, do you think he was actually partying? Do you think he
So,
cares?
no, he doesn't care. That I think I can say with all certainty. Was he partying? I don't know. For those, everyone's probably heard of Conor McGregor. He's had an illustrious career, and after he rose to the top, claimed his championship status and all the things, he started drinking and doing a lot of drugs. He started doing a lot of partying. He started living the life of everything that he'd built, um, and stopped fighting. So over the last couple of years, he's had a couple of fights here and there. They haven't necessarily all gone his way, but they make more money than any other fights because he's still, even though he doesn't fight and hasn't fought regularly in probably 5 years at this point, he's still the biggest draw in the UFC. It's a major sport. Like if people know what WWE wrestling is, The Rock still goes back on occasion, even though he's like 53, and he's still one of the biggest draws there is because that is the importance of star power, becoming an attractive character so you can grow an audience. That's for everyone out there. So was he partying? I don't know. This could be a couple different things. Number one, it could be psychological warfare, right? Sun Tzu. And there's another UFC fight that's going to be happening in November. One of the fighters released video footage of him doing pad work. He didn't look that fast. And so a lot of people in the comments were detracting from him and his success and his skills. And then a couple people were like, or did he release this on purpose to make the person that he's fighting get lulled into a false sense of security that this guy is old and slow now, right? And so the John Jones is the person he's fighting, and John Jones even commented, he's like, I know a thing or two, and sometimes you're supposed to feign weakness when you're strong, and you're supposed to feign strength when you're the weakest, right? Again, Sun Tzu, The Art of War. And so it could be that. It could be Conor throwing something out after swearing this all off and saying, I'm coming back. I'm walking the pure path. I'm training, saying my prayers, eating my vitamins, all the Hulkamaniac stuff from back in the day. And he could have put this out there so his opponent is like, oh, I got him. He's slipping. He's being undisciplined. It's going to be an easy fight. So it could be that. It could be the psychological warfare. What I really think it is, and this is what you and I spoke about offline, attention. This is just going to sell more pay-per-views. This is just getting more eyes and ears focused on he's coming back. Looks like he's still doing the same thing. Can he do it? Can he turn it around? Can the biggest draw in the history of the sport overcome his demons, get in the cage, and lay waste to his opponent? More people are going to tune in. This is the person who he has all of the record draws for the UFC pay-per-views. This is going to be up there in the top 5, 6, 7. And I think this is just for attention. I think this is just to get more eyes and ears on the fights. I think it's just to get more butts and seats. And I think it's just to sell more pay-per-views across the globe.
So you know more about this world than I do. Is he generally liked by other fighters? Obviously, money, fame, those types of things, maybe not. But I mean, like as a person, is there ever like character questions about like the actual Conor McGregor?
Yes,
Okay.
there definitely are, but a lot of the larger and they're athletes, and so just like the NFL, just like the NBA, we see a lot of seen domestic violence. We've seen assaults on people randomly in the street. These are cage fighters. They come with a certain set of unique characteristics behind the eyes and between the ears. They're willing to do other things that are willing to do things most people won't. Get in a cage and fight other people for money being the number one thing. And so with some of them, I'm going to assume that we're going to see a lot of character flaws, because if you're acting on violence as your profession, that's kind of a built-in character flaw, right? Even though I'm sure most of them are just great guys, great humans, some of them definitely aren't. There's a lot of MMA fighters who have troubled histories who spend time in and out of incarceration because of the issues that they face. McGregor is no different. And the other thing is he's seen a level of fame that very few humans do, and no one certainly in the UFC has ever seen. And so I don't know what that does to a person when you're the broke person who's, building your life to be whatever, and then all of a sudden you are the biggest star in your sport. Everyone recognizes you wherever you go. You're so big that you get to box Floyd Mayweather, the greatest fighter of our generation, just because that's how popular he was. And so I don't know what that does to a person's psyche. But for some people, I assume that you start to see anything and everything as you're going to have it your way, or there's going to be a problem, right? So that's a characteristic that is shown through with him. He's been in bar fights with old men and random stuff like that. So yeah, there's a long list of character flaws.
Yeah, I was just curious because, sometimes when people get to that level that he's at, like he's already made his money. He doesn't need this fight that we know of. He doesn't have outstanding debts maybe that he has to pay. So who knows if he wanted to do this or if this was Dana White, like, hey, we need a big uptick in sales because, now we're on the stock market exchange. And so like we need shareholder prices to go up. Who knows why you come back? I mean, he's got hundreds of millions of dollars. He has other sources of revenue besides the UFC, like, why you would endanger your life again. As you said, like the only way someone doesn't die in the UFC is because a referee stops the fight, right? Like you're literally going in there with the intention of hurting somebody else. So I was just kind of curious if he was liked by other fighters because, you do see that sometimes where they consider other fighters, like someone who is more of a mentor to younger fighters, who's willing to help out other fighters and other people along the way. Because he is a character.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would tend to agree with this is promotion. He's there to sell pay-per-view tickets first and foremost. And he's a genius at marketing when it comes to that. He knows the best way to get people to buy things is to make it interesting. And how do you make it interesting? Well, you've got to have a heel, which is the bad guy, and you've got to have a good guy. And he's naturally just always played the heel as the bad guy who's going to be cocky and mouthy and tell you he's going to punch your lights out in 10 seconds or less. And that he's just, going to literally kick your face in and laugh while he does it. And so, when he's out there partying and being, an idiot on purpose, I was just kind of wondering if that was just, his natural state or if that was all just something that, he plays a role at. Because I would imagine, as you're saying, once you've gotten to that level and you see the attention that brings, I imagine like psychologically, that's really hard to then be someone else, kind of like an actor. I'm sure at some point when an actor's so famous and they've played so many roles, they probably kind of lose themselves along the way unless they've done a lot of work or, somehow have maybe had therapy all along the way. I imagine you just kind of lose yourself because this whole, I mean, how many years has it been? They've been like teasing that he might come back and do a fight. It's been a while. Like I've seen things, and so why all these things? There was also like he was on test and all these other performance enhancing drugs after he retired and then had surgery, and so it's just interesting. Like why come back and like who wants you to come back?
Yeah, he definitely. So in his last fight, he broke his leg, compound fracture. He went to give a low leg kick, and his shin basically wrapped around the other guy's shin, so his leg snapped. So he's been out for a couple of years, 3 years. It'll be 3 years, I believe, in July. Actually, I was at that fight. And so yeah, he took plenty of things to, number one, heal his body, but number two, when you're out of the testing pool and you're healing from surgery, he took plenty of things that have completely changed the shape of his head, his face. He's a different guy for sure.
All right. Have you heard of the silver tsunami, Michael? Have you heard of this phenomena?
Are we talking about boomer business retirement?
Yes, sir. So this was a post I came across. Cody Sanchez, if you're not familiar with Cody Sanchez, she tries to teach business owners or people who want to be a business owner how to acquire other businesses. Great business to be in. Here's how you go buy other businesses so you don't have to start your own business. But she's been covering for a while, along with people in her field, that like there's going to be this huge wave of boomers that retire, and so there's going to be all these businesses up for grabs. Thought it was super interesting though, and let me share screen. We're getting really good at technology, I'm telling you guys. So 10 trillion in assets is changing hands now. The owners are gray-haired boomers ready to put up their feet, right? Well, that silver tsunami might actually not be happening. Here's why. So, age of U.S. business owners. Again, if you guys are following along on the podcast chart, go see the video. So, age of U.S. business owners, we have 25 to 34, just over 5%. 35 to 44, around like 18ish percent. 45 to 54, just over 25%. The largest is 55 to 64, which looks just under 30%, probably like 29%. And then 65 or over, still a large portion, over 20, probably like 2ish percent. So Cody goes on to kind of allude to, for 10 plus years, people have been promised a silver tsunami, a massive wave of retiring baby boomers, leaving inheritance, getting rid of real estate, and of course, selling their business. In theory, our age group, Michael, probably like an older millennial into a Gen Xer, should have had this giant wave of available resources to acquire all these businesses, and yet nobody's retiring, nobody's getting rid of assets. Should we be worried?
It's tough because this is actually like the new thing, right? Every couple of years, the new thing comes out, and now buying businesses is the new thing. So this has mostly been perpetuated by people in this industry that it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And so on the other end of it, they have something to sell you, right? Like I think Cody's great. I think she puts out great content. At the end of the day, she's got a product to sell you. And so does everyone else who's going to show you how to buy a business. And so of course they're going to tell you, hey, it's coming, hey, it's coming, hey, it's coming, because they want you to buy the business, or they want you to buy the product so you can go buy businesses and create success for yourself and then send them testimonials and they can market and get more clients. And guys, this is just how it goes. And so is there anything to worry about? I mean, if you're a person who's trying to go all in on buying businesses, maybe you're being sold something that isn't true. But for the most part, on a long enough time horizon, all chance of continuing on goes to zero. And so all of these business owners are either going to retire or their business is going to get sold or something's going to happen. It is literally just a matter of time. The only thing is, as we advance in technology and more people get into longevity and anti-aging, you might see that go up because a lot of business owners are extremely passionate about what they do. And they're the people who will not retire even when they retire, right? They're just busybodies. They're industrious. They're the people who actually build the world. And so I think the landscape of business buying in the future is going to change because of those things. But at the end of the day, there's still plenty of businesses that are growing. There's still plenty of people who are selling them. And it's only going to become more of a thing. The more commonplace the knowledge is that you can start a business, scale a business, and exit, the more people are going to try to do that thing and then repeatedly do that thing over and over. And a lot of serial entrepreneurs have a tremendous amount of success. So is it time to panic or worry about this? Nah, I just don't think it's going to be as quick, easy, and simple as everyone is being told it was going to be.
Yeah, if you have a service-based business, or I guess technically the boomer or the older person, maybe it's a flower shop, right? Maybe they just like making flowers, and what's their alternative? Like inflation, economy isn't great, so what are they going to do? Like retire? Okay, and then what? Like you got to find other hobbies. Like you can go Google you know, basically, um, after retirement, how many years will you live? And if you don't have a hobby or something else to put your time into, it's not great. It's a couple years. Typically, most people live, and then for some reason, they pass away or at least have a quote unquote depressed life after that. So I think you have that. I think you have the people who just want and enjoy the thing that they're doing. You have that. Because on the other side of that, you have if you own a chain of laundromats or car washes, like I don't know, there may be a person out there that's passionate about car washes. Maybe some dude's out there like I love laundry, I love detergent, and he's like, I've got 10 stores. I go to each one every day and I just love it. I love changing machines, love talking, right? Maybe. Doubtful, but maybe. So I think you have that. You have these types of businesses that because I mean, like in my local town, I'm sure in your local town, like there's still laundromats, it's still a thing. People still go to them. People still have them.
Mm-hmm.
Still make money. And so in my head, if you have something like that, you could probably partner with maybe a business owner if they are older and tell them you'll either like manage it or, hey man, I know a lot about marketing. I could maybe, let's see if I could help bring more people, more customers to your thing. Mm-hmm. Same thing with the flower shop. Like maybe you initially don't take over and run the business, but you still partner with them. Hey, I'm really great at marketing. I really enjoy, the creations that you made for my brother's wedding with your flower arrangements, right? Like I think I could maybe help bring more business to you through marketing and social media. Would you be cool if we tried to work something out? Show them you know what you're doing, and then 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, maybe you do take over the business. But I see it more as collaboration than anything, because I don't think you're going to walk into any business and just be like, hey, I'd like to buy this. What do you think? And they're just like, yeah, write me a check. Let's go. You have to somehow either collaborate with them or be introduced to people. Like typically, when I've been in these business communities, they always say, well, the best deals are the ones that are never on the market. And so I always find that ironic that you're selling a community, and I'm not saying Cody is, but you're selling a community to like understand how to do these things. And then like they always end up saying like, well, the best deals are always like ones that you never hear of. And it's like, okay, well then, why am I in this thing, right? So just keep that in mind, guys, if you are considering, or you're like, well, maybe something down the road, my local community, maybe I do acquire businesses. It all comes back to network and resources. Who's in your network? Who have you connected with? Who can connect you to other people? I'm not saying to use people. I'm just saying that's where it starts from the ground up, right? Every time I come back home and then I go out to dinner with my mom, or my stepdad, or anyone, that's in my family, they know everybody. So like it's just a giant thing. And if I need a connection to someone, I know to go through my mom, because she literally knows everybody. Doesn't matter if they work for the county office, or, it's in law enforcement, or it's just someone that owns a shop somewhere. Like she knows everybody. So I just need to like, hey, I need this. And she goes, yeah, you need to talk to this person, tell them, you're my son, and, they'll take care of you. And so it's always going to come back to resources and network in that way.
Yeah, and you had brought up the thing that is commonly said, the best deals you don't hear about. If you want those deals, what you just suggested is perfect, right? When you reach out to that business owner and you offer to add value to their lives, you start to form the relationship. Over time, as you nurture that, you might be the person who gets to buy out their business when they are ready to retire, and it might never go to market and no one might ever hear about that deal. And it only happens if you build the relationship, because those deals happen behind closed doors, far, far, far away from anyone selling any community's products or courses.
All right. Last, I wanted to get your thoughts on something that I thought was pretty interesting, and something that we've kind of covered loosely with technology and AI. But first, I want to get to, you had another post from our good friend Neil Patel. I feel like we need like a Neil Patel 5-minute story hour once a week to go over. And I also want to tease next episode, or maybe the one after, we're going to go through a little bit of marketing 101. We're going to break down for you guys like an opt-in page and how we create them and why we create them in a certain way. Probably do a quick 10, 15-minute breakdown via video. We'll make sure that's up as well. But then show some of you guys that we talk about PDFs, we talk about opt-ins. I just want to show you a little bit of the marketing 101 on what goes into those and how to make sure if you guys do create, whether it's on Canva or it's an Evernote or it is an actual landing page, with ClickFunnels or go high level, you understand just like the basic overview of how to do that. And then down the road, if that's something helpful, we'll definitely, make a further in-depth training. But first, what's the latest on Neil Patel? They've been doing a bunch of analytics lately, and I've been loving it. But I know you have a new one that they just dropped. So give us the
Yeah,
overview here.
man. So we'll go over Twitter today, and then on the next one, we will find Facebook, because I know we have a lot of people out there who try to grow their businesses on Facebook. So we should probably go into it. But for now, let's cover Twitter. So from Neil Patel and his team, analyzing just under 10,000 Twitter accounts to determine how often you should post for optimal account growth videos. 2 to 3 times a week. Twitter's pushing videos hard right now. Guess what Elon said about being a video first platform is true. This is the way of the world, right? We saw this occur with TikTok. We have seen Instagram copy the TikTok model, push everyone hard to Reels. Facebook is starting to go in that direction. And so YouTube, the second largest search engine on the planet behind Google, video content keeps people drawn in for longer. It's easier for people to watch videos than it is for them to read. All of us know that, right? It's really easy to get lost into a movie. And if you have a book in front of you that you don't love, it can be hard getting into it. So that's just a principle, right? People are attracted to video more than they are text. So that makes a ton of sense. Images 3 to 8 times a week, charts, memes, anything visual, that's new. So that's just a standard static post. Polls once a week. Polls are great for engagement. Polls are great for market research. We encourage you guys to put those up in your Instagram stories. You can do it nightly. Lives 4 to 5 times a month. So essentially that falls in line with everything else they've reported. So going live once a week on your primary platform. Text-based posts. We used to call these tweets. That's hilarious. The actual original purpose of the platform. Text-based posts or tweets 3 to 4 times per day. Reposts. And so a repost is just like a share. If you've seen something valuable that someone else put out there, you can choose to repost it. And now it will make their post on your profile. And so that's a repost. It says 1 to 2 times a day. Make sure you include your thoughts when sharing someone else's post. In that case, we don't repost. When you go to click repost, it'll give you the option, and then you go to quote. You're going to hit quote. So then it will repost, but it will allow you to say something at the top. This is a great way to share someone else's stuff and also leverage their audience. So reposting is a great way to get attention. Make sure you quote it, though. Comments 9 to 20 times a day. We're seeing this more. I'm going to come back to that one. DMs. Try to respond to everyone, to be kind. Although it's not as common for people to send messages on Twitter versus platforms like Instagram, I disagree. I get cold DMs all the time on Twitter, and the reason why is because of something called money Twitter. And if you're not familiar with money Twitter, it's just like business building on Facebook or Instagram, but it's on Twitter. So they call it money Twitter. And on Twitter, there are more agencies than anywhere else. There are more agencies than coaches, service-based, but agencies are everywhere in money Twitter. And so this is all of these 14 to 28-year-olds, and they will cold DM you all the time offering services. So it says that it's not common. I tell you it is. The big takeaway, respond to everyone and be kind, of course. He says, one thing to note with X, you should use it as a testing ground. We covered that on our Instagram. Unlike most platforms, X doesn't hurt your future reach if you post crap or mediocre content. So that means if you make a mistake, they don't even remember it. Whereas the other platforms note and penalize and are very judgmental, right? And so another reason why everyone should move to Twitter, in my opinion. Unlike most platforms. Yep. And then use it to see what's working, then repurpose your hits to the other social networks. So let Twitter be your testing ground, the things that resonate and take hold. take elsewhere. We covered that last week with Instagram. Okay, I want to hop into this. It says comments 9 to 20 times a day. That does not mean you are commenting nine, you're making 9 to 20 comments. It means that you're on your social media in your DMs or on profile 9 to 20 times a day commenting. You are engaging that much on social media. That's a lot. No way in heck I'm getting on to engage 20 different times a day, but I'm willing to bet that I'm probably on 20 different times a day. And so the only difference, if you're already there, just start engaging. That way there's no wasted time. What's your take, man? This was a lot of stuff, as Twitter has different things that the other platforms don't. But yeah, what's your take on this?
Videos, I mean, we all know it's the biggest thing. It's going to continue to be the biggest thing, but it shouldn't be, well, it doesn't have to be your whole thing. I think that's just the common theme that we're seeing across platforms at the moment. Eventually, will everything go into TikTok where it's just all videos all the time? Probably. It's where we're all heading, especially as soon as we go VR, AR. I saw, I believe it was either through Vision Pro or which is Apple's AR. It was one of them. It was a
8K
woman.
360-degree camera.
She was watching her wedding in replay in the AR, and she was like turning her head, and it like showed her exactly like what was going on.
Yep.
And so we know those or that is the path forward. And so if that's where we're going, should you get great at video? Probably a good idea. I will say that whole thing terrifies me, because if we're only ever reliving our best moments, like I don't say a lot of women, it's common for women to really think like back to, a great day that they had was their wedding, right? And if you're a woman listening to this and you're like, you know what I'm talking about, I'm sorry. I'm just saying the women I've talked to before in passing, when I've been on like group communities or chats, and the questions always come up, what's one of the, like the best days of your life? Like, it's usually like children, being born, and or wedding if they don't have children. And so my worry is if we can just put on goggles and remember the 1, 2, 3 subjective best days of our lives, we stop trying to find new ones. And then instead we just relive, which is a whole other podcast we can dive into. But I just wanted to get that out there that like, wow, that's really cool. And yes, people look at photo albums, and yes, people watch the old VHS of their wedding tape back in the day. I get it. But immersion to me is way, way different than just like looking through a photo album every couple of years. Like, that is something that makes you like relive those emotions, and you can be trying to chase those like in a whole different way. So videos for sure, we know that's the path forward. If you're not making videos, you and I always suggest just going live. Do a quick 60-second live. It makes you have to talk versus like trying to go in and retake the perfect reel for 45 seconds. I think the other thing I really like about X, Twitter, is it encourages you to repost and give the original source credit. It's very common to snapshot things and then put up that you see from other creators on different platforms onto Instagram. And it's not because like you're trying to steal their thoughts. It's because they seem to dock you. Like if I'm sharing somebody's post from Instagram into my story, they don't tend to like that for whatever reason. So instead you've got to screenshot it, almost like clip out the original source's credit, and then maybe like tag them in it, but then to show on your story. And I do that all the time because I just know they'll dock you if you're just sharing other people's stuff, which sucks. Then you just, I try in the text usually to give them credit, like this came from this person. That way, it doesn't dock you. Not that you or I have millions of people watching our stuff, but it does seem to do that. So I enjoy that, or I like that Twitter is still encouraging you to do a quote repost, because it just makes sense to be able to give the original source actual credit.
Yeah, man, and we covered that with the Instagram dive last week, where specifically if you share already pre-created content from another creator, they penalize you. And that was actually, back in the day, one of the easiest ways, especially with stories. And that was the first thing they started penalizing people with. When you started sharing other people's stories, they would just start smashing your reach. So it is definitely a different world on Twitter.
Do you remember when it
Love,
was called? It
love,
was called
love the
Regram. It
reposts.
was called a Regram, right? Like
Yeah, it was called a
there was
regram.
two
You
apps, Regram
you
and
had to
something
download
else.
the app. Yeah.
You had to have the app, and you could save someone's post, and you could repost it because even Instagram would not allow you to do that. And
Yep.
they quickly were like, "Nope, not anymore."
Dang it.
All right, man. Lastly, I want to get into something that I came across that they're calling the movement from essentially a shift from a knowledge economy where you're compensated based on what you know to an allocation economy where you're compensated based on your ability to allocate the resources of intelligence. In an allocation economy, we become model managers, learning to scope and delegate tasks for models to do rather than doing them ourselves in many cases. This person says, my thesis is the same skill that human managers have to learn how to delegate. When we get into the details, how to develop taste become increasingly important and widespread in this new world. This is from Dan Shipper, talking about moving from the economy or knowledge economy to an allocation economy. Now, we've talked a lot about AI and different things that you can do. Is this on par with kind of your thesis about where we're going with the new developments of AI, VAs, and where we can kind of essentially start to really refine our abilities and our skill sets?
100%, man. The statement goes, you're not going to be replaced by AI, you're going to be replaced by someone who uses AI. This is that. So you can be a single person who has a piece of knowledge or a skill set, and you can do that thing. Or you can be the person who has that knowledge, who outsources a majority of these smaller, mundane, system related, spreadsheet warrior like tasks. So you can focus on more of the high leverage of whatever it is that your skill is, whatever the position is. And so, yes, this is a shining example of, as the individual starts to leverage AI, you are leveraging the power of other workers who are infinitely faster than humans, right? And so before, you could be the solopreneur who did literally everything all of the time. And over the past, I don't know, 5-6 years, we've really seen a big swing into VAs, especially overseas, just because of the price differential that you'd have to pay to get talent. And so this is just the evolution of that. It's literally, instead of outsourcing to VAs, you're now outsourcing to technology. And just like VAs, you have to train them very specifically. You will get back what you send to them, because typically you're taking people who their primary language probably isn't English, and so they're communicating to you in a secondary language. You have to train them explicitly on your model, on your systems, on your processes. And if you don't do it appropriately, they're going to mess something up because of a language barrier. It's the same thing, but instead of training, you're prompting. And those prompts over time are what train your AI, right? But it's the same thing. The more exact you are with your prompt, it's just like training a person. So it's literally the same level of skill set involved in the outsourcing to get something done. So this is literally just evolution, and it's going to get really, really fast. And so this is why you want to at least understand and try to keep up with AI. Even I'm not a tech person, but it's something I have to keep up with, because it's in, especially if you are a knowledge worker, right? Where you're not using your body for a craft, for a skill. By far the most easily replaceable people, the smarter AI gets. And so you're going to have to leverage it in the future, because you make yourself more productive. You make yourself omnipresent, and you're going to make yourself a lot more accomplished. And if you don't, you're going to get replaced.
It's so easy to get overwhelmed. because of all the advancement that we're seeing, and AI and tech is always scary until it's adopted. And then we realize, okay, it's not that scary. Can it be used for malice intentions? Absolutely, it can. But I mean, the fact is, Michael, if you or I were born 100 years before we, I'm not going to, I won't reveal when you were born. I think we were both born in the 80s, though. If we were
Yeah.
born 100 years earlier, we most likely would have fought in World War One, and I would have probably been a coal miner and been,
Hmm.
3/4 of the way through my life, and probably died somewhere in my 40s, maybe 50s of black lung. And so, like, anytime I get overwhelmed, or I'm like, man, like, why should I just keep learning all these things? This is too much, right? I just want to do something simple. It's like, yeah, but man, if you could pluck anyone out from the 1880s, 1890s and be like, hey, would you like to kind of just transport yourself 100 years from now, when a lot of these things that, would be your only option of work or employment, you don't have to really worry about any of those things anymore. You can literally just be at home if you want and work online and learn some things and make money. Would you like to do that instead? They'd probably be like, yes, hell yeah, I'm out of here. Let's go. Right. So I just want to encourage anyone, because that's the first thing that, especially coaches, entrepreneurs, if you're in your like mid 30s, I saw an interesting stat that said the peak, follow me for a second, the peak of um, your musical happiness is at age 17, which means like that's when you're always going to go back and say that music was the best when you're 17 years old. And at age 35, it starts to decline drastically. Just from then on, you're like, music is shit. Like just a heavy decline. And I remember this happened for me at 25, because I was in the gym training a client, and she goes, hey, can I turn the station? And I don't remember what it was, on, some Pandora station, right? And she turned it, and it was mumble rap. And I was like, this is garbage. And I was like, man, I'm already that age where I think everything is just garbage, right? And so I thought that was just super interesting to see that that's just a universal thing. And so I think also as we age, we become more set in our ways and less inclined to learn new abilities. That's why I think Gary Vee is a fascinating case study. I feel like
Yeah.
he every day has a beginner's mindset, and he's always like talking about social media and the next things. Whereas most of us as we age, we're just like, I don't want to learn these new things. And that can be okay. But if you're not open to these new, especially with technology, the new ways of doing things to make life easier, or to increase productivity, or to be able to outsource and do other things, you're going to get stuck in your ways. And again, we keep talking about the I and rich, and live rich is innovation. And while we're not going to go out and be Elon Musk and probably make rockets, you have to be willing to have that beginner's mindset and that blank page mentality, and be open to these other things. Canva just literally over this past weekend got made fun of because I don't know if you saw, but they had almost a rap battle announcing their new tech, which was just
Yeah.
so bizarre. But their new AI that's coming is going to be helpful to a bunch of entrepreneurs. Like, it's $12 a month. It's not that much to be able to use a lot of these tools and resources, to which 99% of us are terrible at design and creating these things. But if you just have to upload a picture and a date and a title, and it's like, here's 20 different examples of a post you can make, well, that's going to be super beneficial for the individual who's trying to promote and trying to get their resources out there. So be open to tech, be willing to learn a new skill set. It sucks. It's time away from other things for sure. But in the end, it's going to exponentially increase your business, your awareness, your ability to do the things you want to do, and to get your message out there and to help more people.
I think on one of the episodes we'll have to do a pyramid breakdown. I'm going to reference it now, but if you haven't seen it or you don't
A
know what
pyramid
it is, it
scheme?
won't make it.
You want to do a
Yes.
pyramid scheme?
Yes.
Okay. Guys, if you
Put
get in
me in,
now and
coach.
just recruit 3 friends each,
You'll never have to pay to listen to another episode of this again.
yeah, you'll become the diamond exclusive black VIP card member.
I don't even remember where I was going now, because this is where we're going.
You were going to do a pyramid breakdown.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen the pyramid, We will do one on one of the coming episodes just to give you guys a visual. But picture a pyramid. We have a single triangle up top, and then there's a second row, and then there's a third row. Right. That third row, those are the very base things. And so at the corner of each of the pyramid and the base, we have systems and technology. For most people, that is the most tedious, boring stuff there is. But it's what gets you your time back. And so you can be the person who has a business who fulfills, who's always running around like a chicken with your head cut off. You're not going to be very efficient. You're not going to be very good. You're not going to have a good time. And eventually you're going to burn out. But if you invest some of your time in learning new and emerging technology in your field, so you can leverage it to create systems, it makes it seem like you're everywhere, right? You can literally onboard a client at 2:00 in the morning from the other side of the world while you're asleep if you've leveraged technology to where they can buy on the internet and get a automated onboarding and welcoming process, right? That's technology and systems. And those things will allow you to make money while you sleep. It's not passive. That's all BS. You still had to invest some time, energy, and effort up front to get this return on investment, but you do get a return on investment. And so technology and systems, as boring as they are, these are the things that get your time freedom. So you're going to want to make friends with them. I have an interesting thought. So,
Do tell.
And I saw something. It was a video from a guy who was an Apple investor since 1981, and he was talking about how Steve Jobs, when he was first time around as a CEO, almost sank the company, and he created something that he was trying to keep afloat called Lisa, and it was a terrible computer. And that was early on, and I just saw that. I wasn't aware of it. Now, I was aware of the fact that Steve Jobs fought like hell to never have an iPhone.
Yeah,
He
he
just
wanted
wanted
to
to
tank it. That
recreate
was stupid.
he wanted to recreate the BlackBerry. People only want to do email and communication on their phone. And so he had two different engineering teams who drug him kicking and screaming. And it's the reason why Apple is the largest company on the planet. It's the iPhone specifically, not the computers, not the iPads, not the iPods, not any of those things. It is the phone. And it gives to the public, because entrepreneurs love Steve Jobs, right? Like he's on Mount Rushmore for so many of us. The visionary. The visionary. The public is under the misconception, the illusion that there's the genius with 1,000 helpers. No, 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 no. There's a visionary who's typically an attractive character who is propped up by a team of specialists. And more often than not, that person up top can't even manage themselves. That is the truth. That is the truth across industry. I think it has to do more with the type of person that you are, but we'll call them a visionary. So the visionary, they're safe from AI, at least for now. The visionary needs the tenacious people who work on tech and who work in the land of spreadsheets and all of those tedious tasks the visionary typically is allergic to doing in order for the whole thing to be successful. AI is going to get rid of the need for all of the tedious task people. And so that means that we're going to get a new type of visionary in the future, because in order to be successful, if you don't go the traditional route, being, propped up by a massive team, you're going to have to be the visionary who can leverage AI increasingly well to replace that staff. And to everyone else, if you are the spreadsheet ninjas and warriors and do all the tedious tasks that other people just hate, these are the first holes that are going to be plugged by AI. Start learning a new skill quickly.
So we got a pyramid. We have opt-in. We have psychological phenomenons when it comes to AR, VR.
Yep.
We have a lot to cover, man. Where does the time go?
It's going to be a fun season.
hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode. I do want to next time too. I want to kick it off with some listener appreciation. I've gotten a couple DMs. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I've gotten hundreds or dozens, but I have gotten a couple DMs from questions, as well as some people just saying they've enjoyed the podcast. I'll share those with you after we're done here. But I would actually like to reward those people maybe with a gift card or such, because we have gotten a couple questions as well. So thank you to everyone who's listened, who's downloaded, who's shared with me that you've listened, as well as I think maybe, we're almost to June. Maybe we do like a listener challenge and maybe see, maybe do like a week where we do some listener challenges and stuff. So off air, let's talk about that and see if we can come up with something cool for everybody. Well, guys, hopefully you enjoy this. Hopefully you guys had some takeaways from today. Hit us in the DMs. Michael has changed his name to Michael_connects now. So big alert there. Hit him in the DMs. Hit me in the DMs. Cam.explains. If you guys have questions, we'll take care of our listener Q&A at the end of this week, as well as anything else when it comes to entrepreneurship, business, coaching, life. If we don't know the answer, we'll definitely try and figure it out for you. So have a wonderful rest of your day, gang, and we will see you next time on Run the Block.
Get to work.